Hey, Mike, you're muted. That's okay. I can lead rips.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Stupid Zoom doing its thing. Yeah, how you doing?
Good, good. Just long week or two of travel, so glad to be home.
Yeah, I've got that coming up fairly soon as well. There we go. Hmm. So I'm giving a talk on Thursday at OC3 on
Cool.
regulations and standards. So I haven't seen the agenda for today, but if there's time, I'd love to go through where I am with that at the moment and get some thoughts.
Yeah, there's a little bit of time in there for sort of updates and questions and
Oh,
answers.
fantastic, thank you.
Share my build dab me go. Oh, that's not what I want. Hold on. That'll work.
Mr. Guzman, how you doing? You're muted, Michael. I had exactly the same thing. Zoom sometimes decides to mute by default. I honestly don't know how it works.
Oh, sorry. Yep. No. So yeah, I was saying I don't have access to the last meeting minutes. I have access to the agenda for today, but not the meeting minutes. So it's almost like it's doing the access on a, per document basis.
It
So I
might
think
be.
that Rian is trying to sort that.
Okay.
Is that are they in the same directory?
They are, and I just put. Well, I just at least what I can see. I just create a subdirectory just for the minutes and agenda to stay together. And then everything at the top is just documents that we either have ratified or need to review. So I'm just trying to organize it, but I think the permissions should be the same.
Okay.
Let me check.
Okay. I know we had some new members last meeting, but right now it looks like it's just the three of us.
It does. I'm glad that there were some last time. I'm sorry there aren't more today, but who did we have last time?
Ob, hold on, look at the minutes and I'll tell you. Yeah, there's I think we had like four other
Yeah, we
folks.
had four. I know we had Mark, shoot, I can't remember his last name,
Bowers.
from Anjuna, Mark Bauer,
Bowers,
from
yeah.
Anjuna, just because I know him from Chase. Um, and then we had another person from AMD. It's funny, I can remember the
Ab.
places they work, I just can't remember their names.
That was Ab, right? Abe. He can go by Abe.
Yeah.
He went by Ab. hopefully this time
Mhm.
will be a little bit clearer. So thanks, Michael, for volunteering to do minutes. I was trying to juggle
Yep.
two things. I did not have the recording, so I couldn't go back and listen. But this
Okay.
this
I
week
have
should go
access.
better.
No worries. No worries at all. Yeah, so I have access to those minutes now. Perfect. From last week. Well,
Cool.
not last week, but 2 weeks ago. But yeah, same difference. Once it's that, will you send me the recording afterwards, Simon?
Yeah, I just Rain sent me a link today to the one from last week or 2 weeks ago. So I got to play catch up still, but I think hopefully it's in the same
No worries.
space every time.
Yeah, and well, and this that way I'll make sure I don't miss anything in the minutes.
Exactly. Mm.
So you're on the West Coast, Michael, is that right?
I'm on the East Coast.
On the East Coast. Well, that's a
Yeah.
very confusing background.
Oh,
So
yeah. I get
you
4 to
guys,
2.
you guys have started daylight savings right now.
Correct. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
this Sunday we sprung forward.
exactly.
Okay, fine. We haven't yet. I'm just trying to get my
Mhm.
head around sometimes.
I think it's like that
So
that 2 week window where we're in limbo together.
yeah, exactly. So oh, this hurts my head so bad. So for 12 o'clock your time is what time East West Coast?
That'd be 9 o'clock,
9. Yeah.
9 a.m. Hi, Raj.
Okay.
All right. Do we want to go and get started?
Yeah, I think so. Let's give everybody
Yep.
5 minutes. It's been 7. So
Yep.
let's go ahead and hop in. Let me pull up the agenda. So, hello everybody. Good to see the three of us. Looking forward to getting to know you a little bit,
Well, there's
Rithika.
four of us now, including
The
us.
three of us. I can see three
Oh, okay, yeah,
already.
fair enough. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Tim.
And then looking forward to getting to know you, Rithika. A little bit of administrative updates, and we'll approve the minutes, and then we'll go through a pretty quick agenda. I know Mike wanted some time to talk about what he's doing with OC3, and I have some updates on some travels I've done recently with different regulators. So it should be a okay agenda. If there's anything that anybody wants to add, please let me know.
Yeah, I
So
can't see the agenda. If you could share it, there are a couple of things I'd like to
Uh,
add, please.
it should be shared. 1 second. Do it
I can
again.
share my screen if it helps.
That'd be cool.
I,
Thank you.
I
Yep.
just had it up. It's making it small though.
All we have is
Just
thank you at the end, which is probably the
this is
opposite
not what you
one
want.
to. No.
Yeah, you're here.
Okay.
I don't know
Yeah,
why
I
it's so
got
small. I
a
apologize.
couple of things. Firstly, the slides I'm doing for OC3, I'd love to get some thoughts on those. And secondly, we've now published a responses to NIST and the UK government, and I want to discuss what we want to do with those, and if this group has any particular strong views.
Okay, cool. Those are good. Anybody else have anything else to add or adjust to the agenda?
Nope, I don't.
Cool. All right. Well, why don't we do new introductions? So we've got a new member. So Rithika, I want to make sure I say that right. Would you mind introducing yourself, and then we'll do the same back. You're muted if you can. If not, if there's technical difficulties,
Nope.
getting kiddo out of the car. Got it. That
Yep.
is high priority. Good luck.
Happy to loop back.
Yeah, we'll look back on that. So good to meet you. We'll talk soon. And then as far as administrative update, so I think we've got the share drive figured out. I think we got to make sure the permissions are right. Thank you, Michael, for doing minutes today. Hopefully we'll get the recordings. I don't know if I can put them in the same folder or not. It's just a link that I got, so I'll hopefully see if I can pull that out. So it does not seem to go in the same folder. But
So
once
just a quick thing on admin. I do apologize. There are some problems at the moment with the admin uh, from the LF in that one of our key people is ill and the others just got back from 2 weeks away on holiday. So that
okay.
some things may take a bit longer than usual. I apologize. We're doing what we can.
No, that's totally fine. I'm just giving my update as best I understand it. So as we step into the next couple of weeks, I'm sure things will smooth out and become easier.
Yeah.
And then we do have the minutes from last time. Let me shift to that. Stop share. And then share the other one. Oh,
Sorry,
guys.
just going back to the laptop. I think I've
And that,
met you on the previous calls already. But Ratika, I work with Equity Labs. We build AI integrity tools and with a focus on provenance hardware to runtime. Yeah, excited to see this new SIG pop up.
welcome.
Was
Thank you for
triggered
joining.
by the NIST engagement, or has it always kind of been on
It's
the?
been something we've been looking at for a while. The NIST engagement happened to happen at about the same time, but no, it's spelled on that.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Wonderful to meet you. Quick introduction for me. I don't know if we've met. If we have, I apologize. I've forgotten. I'm Solomon. I work at Google. I've been in this realm, TEEs and stuff, for about 30 years, since the 90s. So doing a lot of work with the U.S. intelligence communities and such. But these days, I work on sovereignty. Michael, have you met?
Yeah, so my name is Michael Guzman, work at JP Morgan, focusing on how we can get confidence computing adoption by a lot of our SaaS and third-party vendors. And prior to that, have quite a bit of experience in the PCI DSS space, as well as assessments and governance in general, given 20 years in this space.
And I
Awesome.
think my infamy precedes me, so I'm the exec director of the CCC.
Well done.
Okay, thanks all.
Cool. So quick just review of the meeting minutes from last week, or say 2 weeks ago. A little bit rough because we were trying to figure things out. Didn't have anybody dedicated to taking notes, and we didn't have the recording yet. So I'll come back to clean these up. But for the most part, the two major parts that I think were important were getting to know each other. There was about 6 or 7 of us for the most of the meeting, and the other one was formally, approving the charter. So I think now that we've got that sort of out of the Great, wants to sign me in right when I'm presenting it. Perfect. Welcome to Google. Everything's a
If anyone
double
here
sign
works for
in.
Google, yeah, you might want to have a word with that. Oh, hi, Mike.
And
Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Good morning. How's it going? Sorry, I'm a bit late. School morning.
Good.
We just got through introductions to our new member.
Yep.
Ratika.
And good morning. We just finished up the minutes review and from last time. The other topic that we dove into was the framework proposal. So I finally got it into the folder. So I think we should probably put it as an action item to follow up from here for those that want to can sit down and review the framework proposal. It's a good starting point, I think. I think we all, when we discussed it last time, it felt like it was a good idea. There are some things that might be a little challenging, depending on the vendors, the ability to align up to certain types. But I think what we can do is come up with a series of common levels and objectives. I think that makes a lot of sense. It's a good framework. So please review it between now and our next time. And I definitely want to put it as a topic for 2 weeks from now. And the other one that was sort of important, just sort of like stepping out and doing a little bit of advocacy and finding out what does the quote unquote regulatory market look like right now. I spent some time traveling the last 2 weeks in Europe. Went and spent some time with both NATO and BSI. So I want to give an update on that today, but that's something I think we should do is look for, what are those engagements to which standards that we want to approach. ISO and others are pretty big and long processes, and there might be stuff that's more applicable to certain jurisdictions like NIST. But generally, I think there might be a pattern or two that we can find for getting a lot of bang for the buck to get more understanding and acceptance by regulators of confidential compute. So that was what that topic was and sort of the future items. Michael, did I forget anything?
No, I think that was pretty much what we discussed in the last meeting.
Cool.
Yeah, I think
Awesome.
there was a
All right.
request for feedback, like you mentioned, and so I have that in the meeting minutes. That my next meeting, hopefully, everybody has their feedback on that CCAF, I guess we're calling it.
Because
Appropriate
it's
framework.
specific calf, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I like that. Cool. So this week I figured what we'd do is actually I'll give it to Mike with your sort of proposal for the both what happened with NIST and what you're doing in your presentation with OC3. So I'll give the mic to you for a little bit because I think these follow-on topics could be aligned to some of that.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, one of the things that happened over the last few weeks is firstly getting the RFI response to NIST on agentic AI. They had an RFI 2025-0035. I've been copy and pasting that a lot today. And we spent a lot of time in the TAC and really, which I'm really pleased about. It's good to get the TAC getting behind things a bit. And I submitted that today. Today was I think the final day, and we got it in. We also put together a response on a similar topic for the UK government. We didn't have as much time to do that, so we had to get just a group of us together to do it. But we took quite a lot of the text from the NIST one and applied it. So I think that I'm happy with that. I think what's good about both of them is the TAC really getting together and having some good arguments, but then managing to reach consensus. And I think that when the TAC has particular tasks to do and well defined and they are technical, then it's actually very good for that sort of thing. So you were talking about the CCAF earlier on. If we were to say define levels 1, 2, and 3, for instance, and here's a starting point, I think we can get some really good work done on that. And I want to make sure that we do use the TAC for those sorts of things, rather than trying to get too technical in this one, where we want to be able to having the sort of more highfalutin questions about how we move forward strategically and with which bodies and stuff. So just generally very positive, and I've recorded my thanks to everyone involved with those previously. On Thursday, I am flying to Berlin for OC3 conference. Anyone going to be there? Oh, okay. It's also online and it's on West Coast time, pretty much. Kind of across, particularly given it's this week, it's pretty good. So if you want to dial in, you can, but they'll be recording everything. And I had a talk accepted on regulations and standards for confidential computing, which you may recognize as a topic that might be of interest. So what I'd quite like to do just quickly is briefly to go through where I am with it. It's not complete yet, but if I could have the sharing stick,
Yep.
please.
Oh,
I will try to make that work. Here we go. So I've got half an hour, and this is what it looks like at the moment. So the agenda kind of looks like this. What is the CCC? Why are we doing it? Regulations, then standards, and then work of the CCC. And I haven't filled this all in yet, but so just a bit on the CCC first, and then why do we do regulations and standards? And hopefully it's to help drive adoption. And my thesis is that regulations provide requirements and recommendations, and standards provide implementations, which help drive adoption, but also an ecosystem which helps drive adoption. But also regulations and standards have to talk to each other, and specifically regulations and regulators look for standards to be in place, typically before things move too far, and also often implementations. They like to see implementations. So there's this kind of lots of arrows talking to each other. It's not a single space, and I wanted just to make that clear to people at the conference. If any of this is wrong or you heartily disagree with it, please shout, because I'm not an expert in this and I want to make these slides as good as possible. So feel free to shout as we go, or we can do it at the end. Then a little bit on regulation and regulators. So I point out there's kind of different types of regulators. There's national bodies. I literally just copied these, which I'd forgotten a bit of BSI from the slides earlier on. Thank you very much indeed, Michael and Sol. International bodies and then sector specific. And in my experience, and again, please disagree if you wish, they typically move very slowly, except when there's specific events that they're trying to respond to, and these can cause more problems than they're worth. Again, in my experience, if I'm being overly cynical, I don't see anyone shouting in disagreement.
Well, I would say that standards, my experience has been standards react somewhat knee-jerky. Regulatory bodies typically point to standards with some vague, like in DSS, they'll say follow NIST 853 for cryptographic algorithms, right? So they're not specific enough to where, as long as NIST updates their stuff, the standards are updated, you're still in compliance from a regulatory perspective.
Okay, how do you suggest I rephrase this then? That seems like not a very well written bit. I apologize.
I don't think you necessarily, it's funny enough, even though I made that statement, I don't think you need to restate that, like what you have on the screen. Just when you're discussing it, the emphasis being on the standards being knee-jerky, not necessarily the regulatory frameworks. But that's also, if you have somebody in the crowd that wants to push that point, be kind of a weird point to push, but they could potentially. Just more like a heads up for you.
Yeah.
Okay. How about if sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mike, on this one, I would also include much more than BSI and ANSI in the list here.
Oh, yeah, please give me some more. Yeah, I want more.
So you've got ISO, FDA, BIS, ANSI, the American ANSI.
Well, okay, so
I'm going to put them in the chat for you. I'm going to put them in the chat for you so you can just snip them.
So ISO is a regulator or a standards body? So I've got a separate thing on.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point.
We'll come back to that.
They kind of play both roles. You can get ISO certified, which you can't do with NIST, but they also provide a standard. It's like in their name.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll add those then.
Yeah, because ANSI, the French one, has been particularly not so supportive of confidential computing. Let me put it that way. I mean, Solomon, you mentioned that the other day.
We talked about this.
I was in the room with the gentleman that wrote that article, and I asked him the question. He's like, "Doesn't matter. I don't trust who's running it." I'm like, "Okay, so there's no appeasing you."
Yeah, to be honest, I read through it, and I think actually it comes from a very jaundiced point of view. But anyway, that's a separate conversation. But I think here you've got the national bodies like NIST. You've got PCI that's international, that's both a standard and kind of enforced through the card brands and so on. You also have things like FDA in the United States, the Food and Drug Administration. That, I mean, many
are they relevant to us?
They already recognize, but they already recognize TEEs. So I think there's things here that's already there.
Okay, this is good. I mean, so although to be fair, not all of those are international, as a national. So please, here.
Yeah, that's the way to maybe do it.
Okay. That's good. All right, let's everyone happy with this film? Yeah.
Not to be pedantic, but you should put PCI DSS. Sometimes people, for some reason, get confused with the old school hardware PCI.
Well, the body's the council, I guess, Michael. We should probably say PCI Council there.
Well, then it's SSC, the Security and Standards Council. So it's PCI SSC.
Okay, that's fine. But I was about to say it's not.
C as in Charlie.
Because it's not just PCI DSS, because There's a whole bunch of stuff. I used to do audits for personalization, and they do that's PCI as well. All right, okay, that's very helpful, folks. Okay, let's carry on. Is this a bit better, this slide, do we think?
But you've also got regional ones that are actually really important here. So like the European Banking Authority, for instance, that's the one that does MiFID, and then that's where DORA sort of fits in as well.
Yeah.
So you've got EBA, you've got the ESMA, which is the sector-specific one for MiFID. And I know I'm rattling quite a lot of them off here, but
no, this is good. Having some stuff.
Singapore national bodies like MAS is important.
The Monetary Authority. I would take PCI out of national bodies, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, I meant to do that. Okay, so this should presumably be in a national body there as well, right?
Yes, it only applies to Singapore. Correct.
Yeah, and then like the UK is the PRA there as well. And I bring these up because confidential computing is in the threads of many of them already.
Yeah.
No, this is great. And no complaints about this.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, right. Is this we're not trying to be exhaustive here, but I think this gives enough and is a much better list than it was before. So
would you consider NIST as a national body or as an international body? Because a lot of
you'll see as I come to the slide on that what I've said about it.
Oh, perfect.
All right. So the point I'm trying to make here is that there's a lot of musts. That's what regulators are about. But they recommend, before they move into enforcement, you should start looking at this. That's kind of the point here, right? But they also often require technical standards in place. Otherwise, how can they enforce, right? So specific areas of confidential computing interest, I think these are the ones that jump out at me. But again, I'd love to hear about other ones that we think are particularly important.
Is data privacy meant to include like healthcare information and stuff like that?
Not necessarily. Let's put that specific.
I would also include national security here.
Yep.
I mean, there are some TE things already.
Yeah, no, this is good. This is good. You're just making a rod to beat yourselves with here, right? Because the more we put
I know. I'm already beaten, Mike.
Let me ask you this question: why agentic AI and not just AI in general?
Because agentic AI, we've responded to specific RFIs on. We know that people care about it. AI, I nearly put on its own as well, but I think agentic AI has very specific requirements, and I think it's more likely to be have regulatory interest than just pure AI for TE stuff. Maybe wrong. I'm going to put it in as a question mark because I think it's a good. A good discussion point.
Internally, we've talked about how you can use confidence computing, the attestation component, to create workspace identities that then can be tied to the agents.
Absolutely,
right? We talked about also how confidential computing can be used in the AI space around data clean rooms and model protection to protect the IP of the models that are being created. But if you listen to Larry Ellis from Oracle, he says none of that shit matters. They're all going to be trained on the same data, so your model doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I agree that they're orders of definitely of interest. The question is whether they're likely to attract much regulation. I don't know. So that
kind of speaks to that, doesn't it?
I don't know. We got to here's a discussion point. This is great.
Yeah.
This is all these are the discussions I want to be having in this forum. But for here, this is about just getting more people to this forum. Well, partly about that.
Yeah.
Just making them realize that this is important, right? This is just a that fits here, right?
Well, I was going to say for this though, this particular slide, you may want to. My suggestion, maybe look at it breaking up into categories, right? So privacy could be data privacy, healthcare, stuff like that. And then, so you have one section for privacy, then you have one for maybe, data and use protections, and then you have like the AI LLM, the AI
Yeah,
agent.
so I'm not sure I'm going to bother because this is really to scare people. This is not about trying to be again exhaustive list. This is look, there's
Right.
something for everybody here. Everyone should
Mhm.
be interested. I'm not trying to categorize here. I see your point, but
Gotcha.
yeah,
Okay.
is that yeah? So I lose that one. So where do we think these things are important? And I may list them out in separate slides. We'll see how we go. So standards and standards bodies, and I've some of the key bodies, and we might want to add some of the other ones that we talked about before here, right? But ITF, W3C, ISO, NIST. Again, I
Mhm.
say officially USA, strong security history, right?
Yep.
ETSI, telco, ANSI, also regulatory body. Um, and the question about who we should be engaging with is partly about who we're trying to influence or who we're trying to help. It may be that we have to engage with all of them if they start talking about TEEs, but we've only got a certain amount of bandwidth, and we need to work out, what are we trying to do? We're trying to help people. Going back to this picture, which I'll probably bring in again. Actually, let me put it back there. Um, Going back to this, are we trying to drive from this side on the right, or are we trying to drive from this side on the left? Are we trying to help the regulators, or are we trying to drive to implementations?
I
And I
think
don't have an answer to that.
I think
So
there
I
is
was
an
going to make
answer. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Michael.
I was just going to say I was going to make a comment on that slide,
On
the one
this
that we
one,
had previously. Yeah. So I see regulations and standards at the bottom, not necessarily adoption, but to affect an outcome. Because most regulatory and standards aren't, or at least my experience has been, especially on the regulatory side, they don't describe a particular technology or tool. They just
They
say,
never
this is
will.
what I want to see at the end of the day. And same kind of thing with the standards, right? They'll describe what the standard is, but they don't necessarily say you have to use one or the other. They're just describing if you say you're using one of these, this is what it must qualify as. But both of those combined are meant to affect an outcome. So I want the data to be obfuscated from external systems, maybe the requirement, right, or the regulation. The
okay,
standard would be
I'm
I'm going to use
changing the name of
tokenization.
this slide. I'm changing the name of the slide, which to make it clear that I'm talking about why these things matter to the sugar to the people in I agree that this is not what they're for, but in terms of why we should care, it's because oh dear, I've done the wrong one. A sec. Sugar. Uh
I see you, Solomon has his hand up. He's
okay,
I'll
so
muted.
wait.
I can't see his hand. Sorry for reasons
Yeah,
I do
no
not
worries.
understand. I
I was
can't
just
see.
saying, I see him being respectful.
Yeah, I can't see it,
And
so someone's going to need to tell me. Okay,
it's
so
it's a
let me just try and go back to it. I agree that this is not what regulations and standards are for, but why do they matter to the people in the room, the people who are going to be watching this? Because we're about adoption of this, right? And that's why we care about them. Is that fair or not fair?
So the audience in this room is meant to what? What is the audience in this
It's
room?
OC3. It's the people at OC3. So it's people
Right,
the people who are part of the ecosystem, the industry for confidential computing.
right. So we're saying that the people in that room care about this conversation
Because they
because
care
the
about adoption.
conversation around regulation and standards, well, if we can influence that, we'll influence the adoption. Is that
Yes.
what you're trying to
That
communicate at
that
this
that
point?
is what I'm trying to put across. Yeah.
Yeah. So, reflecting on kind of the way that if you even if you look at the way PCI evolved over the years, whenever there was a new acceptance of a technical control, for example, updated encryption algorithm, which isn't far from where we're at, PCI DSS layers on top of things like NIST or ANSI or ISO as the kind of the recognition point.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the earlier standards, it said something along the lines of, and I've been through this whole process with them, encryption mechanisms could be used so long as they are recognized by an international standards body, and there's a way to then measure that you are compliant to that. So you're in the middle of this. You kind of have regulation standards, and then you actually have the kind of the frameworks. I guess you've got them implementations here. So I think where you're going with this, Mike, I'd imagine that you're kind of looking at the hierarchy of regulatory bodies that matter, so that then there can be a tip of the spear approach to get maximum recognition for adoption. Is that kind of what your outcome is here?
I'm not. The outcome really is really to say these things matter to you, the industry. Here's an introduction to some of the reasons they matter. Come get involved.
So I would, but maybe add the word then. Why do we? Right? Because you're meaning for the to express to the audience why they care about this. So make it very pedantic in the top layer. Why do we care about, or why do regulators matter to us? There you go. And then you can add on the flavor of, because regulation and standards lead to adoption. If you don't have the regulation and standards working hand in hand to describe what they want as the outcome, then you won't have adoption, because people tend to do things because they want to be compliant.
Yep. Okay. That helps, I think. Thank you. I've added that to that one. Okay, so let's go back to here.
Can I add one thing? Can I add one thing in here?
Yeah, he did have his hand up.
I did have my hand up for a while. Even though you couldn't see it, it's okay.
I can now see hands, so I've changed my view.
All good. I think there's a part in here, if we're looking for a flywheel effect, right? You have the standards that are going to be really prescriptive as to what a thing is. You have a regulation or regulators saying what things are required for you to be able to get to this level or to go do this mission. And then there's the accreditors, the ones that actually go in and check your math. Like, did you actually do the standards and the regulations the right way? And can you now handle classified information? Or can you now handle PCI, whatever? So I think there's another part. It's like, yes, we want the regulators and the standards to help us influence and accelerate the adoption of this technology. But we also have to make sure that you make it really easy or easier for the accreditors to get across the line by working with the regulators and the standards is part of it. But you still have to engage with the accreditor ecosystem.
Okay,
just something
so I need to add something like a credit.
Well, it's where the implementations is, right? There's a piece in here where when I say implementation, I mean that's the instantiation of a system and it's running and it's doing stuff.
Yeah.
Not like technical implementation that I've shipped a product.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's going to be too nuanced for this, but I agree. I'm not sure how to get that across. And this is all very complex.
Yeah, but I think that's part of your ecosystem. The ecosystem is the vendors, the auditors, and everybody else that ultimately has to be the relying party on that, from either the implementation or the trust of the implementation.
How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. That's helpful. Thank you. I like that. Okay, let me do that to all these places. I'm aware that we've used quite a lot of time here, so I will edit these afterwards to include this. So that's kind of it. Then the next one is, what are some of the technical standards that we want to be looking at? And these are just some of the ones that jump out at me, right? There's a bunch of protocol stuff. All of these are relevant on the protocol side. We've got attestation, which, yes, there's protocol as well, but there's more to it than, a set of protocols as well. But it also it's a standard itself. What do multiple TEs look like as they're working together? That's kind of the TDIS stuff.
But that's interop kind of stuff, though. I guess, yeah.
Which bit? This bit here? Cross-system TEs?
Well, like the multiple TEs, TDISP and cross-system, that's an interop standard. Like PCI, as in the bus mechanism. It's not like a standards body that will do that.
But I think it may well be that people come up with standards for these, and some of them may end up going through technical standards like an ISO or I don't know. Anyway,
maybe.
for discussion. But these
yeah.
are technical things that we care about, right? That will help adoption. So that's kind of where we are with that. I'll pull out this a bit, and then the last thing is what do we do? I'll put an org chart explaining where this sits in the picture and where tax sits in the picture, and then you don't just need to, we don't need to be a member, but we don't need just X standards or tech standards or law experts. We need all of them. And then there'll be call to arms. But that's kind of where I'm going with it. I've got half an hour. I'm going to try and leave some time for questions. Is there anything enormous I've missed or any huge mistakes I've made? Because now's a very good time to tell me.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think a mistake. Sorry. I just think that it might be worth touching on the fact that there's interdependencies on some of these things. So when we think about asking people to get involved, for instance, if you look at the kind of the technical standards for things like trust, it's going to rely on probably NIST for the core algorithms. Then there's going to be kind of an interop standard between providers, which is the quote verification mechanisms. There may be then others that rely and refer to that. So, for example, like I'm just thinking of even like back in the day with like smart cards. ISO defined all of the interfaces to smart cards because it was driven out of Europe, the 7800 standards. Yep. Encryption algorithms are all done by NIST and ANSI for the most part. Yep. And it's the same with PCI. PCI refers to NIST. HIPAA refers to NIST. NIST then refers to subsets of standards like FIPS and AES and blah, 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 blah. So there's kind of like that hierarchy here. It's not just that you can do one. So I just think
that's a very, very good point. Hierarchies of standards and protocols, or protocols and standards. Therefore, of standards.
Yeah. Even from a strategic perspective, we may want to then go after one particular body first. I mean, NIST is the obvious one, and they're kind of already down this path.
Exactly. And we've had, Mike Bartok has been in touch, and he's finding out how we can get involved with that. Okay, this is really helpful. I'm not going to take up any more of the time. Really, really appreciate this. If there's anything you want me to to do, let me know by email or Slack. But hopefully this is an intro to people who are not standards wonks or geeks. Yeah. A gonk is a geek. He's also a wonk, I guess. Brilliant. Okay, thank you. I will stop sharing. I really appreciate your input, folks. I'm sorry it's far from a perfect presentation, but as I said, hopefully it's just to get people interested or scared, which are both are good things. Sometimes. Thank you.
Good.
Indeed. Just as you sort of close that up, what kind of update do you have sort of on the NIST activities?
I was literally just about to ask for that in case I missed it.
Yeah, sure. So there are two different activities going on with NIST. One was the response to the RFI, which was put in today. That's on AI agents specifically. And I put that in today. The second one is they are looking to do a new version of their CC, the confidential computing thingy, and Mike Bartok from NIST is spearheading that. He has been at the last two TAC meetings and has asked for involvement from the TAC on that. And I wanted to bring that to this group because it should be something that we do as well. I've made it very clear that the TAC needs to be aware of that. One of the big questions is whether we can... so basically, they need named people rather than just a CCC response. But it may be that we can work together to create a CCC consensual response, as it were, consensus response, to which a variety of people put their names. So he is he's looking to find out what that looks like and whether it's plausible, but that is the intent.
Awesome. Thank you for the update.
What was Mark's last name? Sorry.
Mike Bartok, but with a C before the K, not as in the composer.
Gotcha. Okay.
Bartok.
You said it instead of the composer.
NIST has a directory of all the folks there, so you can actually pull it straight out of that.
Very,
too.
very well known. A Hungarian composer, did lots of folk based music. I'm surprised
No
you don't.
idea
I've
he is.
played quite a lot of his music, but I don't know.
Fair enough. Okay.
Excellent.
Bella
I know
Bartok,
we're
Every time I talk to you, Mike, I learn something new.
It's not necessarily useful, but yeah, okay.
all right. I was going to put us on the last little bit of time we have, next 15 minutes or so or less. Just sort of carrying on from your talks with both NIST and generally on regulatory bodies and standards. I was in Europe last week meeting with BSI for other business, and I went and worked with some of their leadership to see if we could open the door around how would we engage with BSI and other bodies like them for confidential compute specifically as a security target or approved product profile. So if you're familiar with BSI and CCN and all the national sort of agencies that do these regulations, what they basically do is they take a standard framework like common criteria and they change 5% of it, and then they call that a product approval, right? And so that means if your product does these things, it can come out through. And there's usually some very specific, that 5% is specific for a reason, but for the most part, they're not reinventing the regulatory wheel. It looks really, really similar. So there's a released product profile that came out last summer for key management systems, which I've been in that business for most of my career. I'd never seen an actual, any kind of regulation just for KMS. There's HSM, there's crypto, there's all those. KMSs are usually very implementation specific. So there is a general purpose, profile out there for KMS. The leadership there is very interested in having a conversation in April with us. Whoever wants to join, I'll try to make the meeting times sort of acceptable. It'll probably be early morning Pacific and European afternoon. But they are willing to explore the conversation of what would a confidential compute or TEE environment profile or product profile look like, so that we can work on that as a general idea, but it could be the first of many conversations like that at the national level, where we say, let's come up with that 95% that's common across everything, and that 5% specific to the country. They'll be part of their onboarding or their vetting process that'll adjust it. I know that they need it. Confidential compute is being used already, and they don't know how to approve it. They don't know how to regulate it. They don't know how to do anything because they got nothing on the books, right? That's the problem. It's like there's a lot of stuff like with TEEs and HSMs and things like that. There's a lot on the books already. Where this is, it's like you're bringing TEEs to a general computing problem or an AI problem, and that's interesting for them, but they don't know how to build a product profile on that yet.
And this is specific for KMS, so
they had one for KMS. Yeah, it was. No, I was using that as an example. We want to have our own confidential. We want a confidential compute version of this. So just think about this. They did one for KMS. Before that, they did one for HSMs. Before that, they did one for TEEs and specific smart cards. Like now, it's time for CC to have its space. They just don't know how to
creating a common criteria for CC.
Yeah, it's 90. I mean, that's the proposal I'm putting in front of everybody. Like we should explore it, but the way that they work is it's a common criteria framework. When thinking strategically, we use them as our first sort of like, or one of the first sort of like wedges to go in, but we still have to have a common criteria security profile. So
this plays very nicely to the CCAF type stuff, right? Presumably, discussion.
Yes, yeah, it does. Yes, because we want to have something that actually has there's going to be a handoff here, or at least collaboration. We need to have a comprehensive security profile as our sort of framework that they're going to measure us against, and that's what common criteria is all about. The CCAF, is is going to be the part on our side. Like this is more the marketing and regulatory connection. Like these are how many, these are how many you have 6 of the 7, sort of things ticked off or levels ticked off. They're not quite the same. One is really trying to measure how confidential are you, where the other one is like, how do I put a confidential compute, regulatory framework at the common criteria level so they can execute and say, check, they're just different.
Yeah.
So, and I think the next conversation or the time we spend looking at the CCAP between now and next meeting, we should look at it through a couple lenses. Like, what does it look like from a national? What does it look like from an international? What does it look like from marketing?
So
right? A bit of that stuff is marketing.
Did the request for looking at the CCAF go to the mailing list? Because I didn't see it.
No, I hadn't. I just got it.
Okay.
I just got everything in the folders today.
Okay, so let's put it there
loaded.
and on the Slack. But also, could either Sol or Michael, either of you available at 12 Eastern next Wednesday? So not this week Wednesday. It's the 18th at 12 Eastern, because I'd love to have a quick report, 5 minutes to 10 minutes maximum, to the governing board on the work of this. And I want to make that, we have monthly governing board meetings, and I think this one particularly, to show that things have kicked off, would be really helpful.
Cool. Yeah, I know I can.
You can, Sol, was that?
I tentatively might be able to. I have an offsite that I'm going to for all of next week for work.
Okay, we only need one, and it's typically the chair. So if that's all right with you, I'll That's cool.
Oops.
That's brilliant.
Cool. And I just want to add one more thing here. So my point of that sort of framework is a lot of these are based upon the common criteria. So we could look at this as, we want to think about common criteria as a potential vehicle for a generally approachable security target that most of the vendors in our ecosystem can use or build upon, and that helps them slide into the different national conversation, at least in Europe. NIST is definitely different than ANSI, but they are asking for a lot of the same things, and they reference each other a lot. So it's finding that matrix is going to be good. And then the last bit is 2 parts. One is BSI is, I have an agreement with the leadership there. So one of their senior leaders in their accreditation and standards and regulations so they're the ones that write these regulations and say do it. So they're very comfortable with moving forward with us, at least early days, to do some discovery. And the second one is a similar conversation with NATO. So there's NATO leadership for the D32 group, which is basically there's 32 countries. The D32 just happens to be Directive 32. It doesn't have anything to do with the 32 countries. And that particular set of frameworks and regulations is around control, specifically the cloud, where confidential compute has come up. So I've asked, can we have more of a general purpose, take a step back? Like cloud is part of the conversation, yes, but we want to look at confidential compute as it stands on its own, whether it was in an edge or inside of a data center, in the cloud. We want to make sure that we have a path towards regulations and standards for CC by itself. So this is just another follow-on conversation. So I'll get a write-up on it. But for me, it was just a permission to come back with a more opinionated project or conversation that we want to have.
That's great. I'm going to send you an introduction to Manu Fontaine from Hushmesh, because they're doing some stuff with NATO, and you should definitely be
Cool.
talking to each other on that. So thank you. This is already good. I meant to say about the CCAF stuff. One of the things the last slide and the thing that I didn't get to is basically saying, we need one of these things, because otherwise, how can you define what CC even is? So I'm going to be adding that to the.
Cool. Yeah, I was going to open up. I know we have 5 minutes left, so we put the future planning and next steps. Let's wrap that up real quick. So I think we should make sure that we all get a chance to read and respond and comment on the CCAF. I'll make sure it gets out into the chat channels, into the email thread, now that we have it all now that we have it in a common area, before it was locked up in a Google only area because of Nelly. So I'll blame Nelly. And then the other part is follow up on some of these regulatory body conversations. With that, I'll open it up to any questions, thoughts. Michael, anything on your side that you want to make sure we
I put this in the thread, but I did share out to my LinkedIn community in regards to the SIG. Hopefully, we'll drive some additional memberships that way. Feel free to copy, paste, or repost what I shared on your LinkedIn. And Mark, I think you had, if I recall previous conversations you and I have had, you had already had discussions with the PCI Council. And so I think from that perspective, as we're talking about regulatory bodies to engage with, maybe that's something that you and I can revisit to start that conversation. I know in my space that'd be hugely impactful and drive a lot of adoption, not just with us, but some of the other larger financial institutions. But I think that could be a useful conversation. I also have, and I'm trying to clean it up, an internal write-up that, and specific to this, that I did here at Chase on how you can leverage confidential computing to reduce scope and segment out your card data environment.
Lovely.
And I think that's one of the business enablement arguments that we offer up to the regulatory bodies as ways to think about this for them. So I'm looking to sanitize that a bit because it wasn't approved for external publication, just internal. But my CISO has asked me to rewrite that for external publication.
If we can write it in a way which is neutral and helpful, there's nothing to stop us publishing that as a CCC document if we can get it approved.
I'm close. Give me probably by the next time we meet, I'll have a draft that I can share.
That's fantastic. I love that. That would be a really good output from this committee. Mainly you, but
No, from the committee. Teamwork makes the dream work.
I was going to say, just
we'll ride those coattails.
Might be. I don't know if there's a budget in the CCC for anything to involve a third-party assessor on this sort of stuff, but that's the other way to actually amplify this, because it's one thing for us or anybody privately to mention, our views on this, which is always useful, but getting an assessor to do it themselves, kind of against a kind of a model, then provides an endorsement from an audit side of things. That's actually much more powerful and might actually be worth.
Yeah, so I'm working that angle internally, Mark, with our we're our assessor. It's a public record, so I don't mind sharing it. You can find it on the council. Is Coalfire, which is one of the larger QSA firms. So we're pushing. We're gently encouraging them to maybe work with us on this document.
I've been doing that for some time.
Good. So we might already solve that without necessarily needing the consortium's coin.
We can always ask for budget. There's not a huge amount, but we did have a slight underspend last year. So I think there's a decent opportunity. And particularly if we can get some more members, actually people paying to be members of the CCC, it's exactly the sort of thing which I think was a very useful thing to be spending their money on.
Where that coin may come in handy, though, is that typically these kinds of documents want to be reviewed at their it's a gathering, but they call it something else. But anyways, they have these gatherings, maybe at the North America. So going to those and actually presenting it in person go quite a bit far.
Absolutely.
So that's where we might use some budget.
Saul's hand up again.
Yeah, we get 1 minute. So I was going to wrap it up and keep the borders nice and clean. So I think great second meeting. A little lighter than last time, but I think it's moving along really quickly. One thing, Michael, because you put in for the record, I would like to talk about a collaboration with the TAC, hopefully, around a series of demos. And when I say demo, I don't mean just like, hey, look, it works. It's like this is a PCI use case. This is a national security use case. Boom, boom, boom. Even if it's on paper, I would like to find a way to build that.
We've previously built use cases. That sounds rather more substantive than we've sometimes done, which I rather like. So let's aim for that.
Yeah, if you got something to build from, I'd love to. I don't want to reinvent any wheels, but if you can show a regulator what it looks like
Yep.
when they regulate it, they're easier to talk to.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks,
Okay,
everybody.
I'll keep work on writing up these minutes and get them published out to everyone using the slide deck that you provided earlier, Salman.
Fantastic. There should be AI minutes that you may be able to use as the basis, so you might want to wait for those. I don't know quite how that works.
Yeah. I've asked Solomon to share them with me after the meeting. Once I have those,
Yeah.
I'll fill them up.
Thanks a lot, folks.
That's the other part,
Awesome.
the admin part. We probably need to figure out how do we just make that automatic so we don't have to like.
Yeah.
Because
we can work on that.
It's not automatic for me either. So, all right.
Okay.
See
Thank you,
ya.
folks.
Thanks,
Cheers. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.